Welcome to the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, and today we will be looking at the offensive line, getting prepped for the NFL Draft, the 2023 NFL Draft, looking at all the data, information that we've gathered from the Combine and since the Combine. That information is on the sheet. I will be going over each position from the offensive line, so there will be 8 prospects in this video, I tried to limit myself, and you can find the sheets for the offensive tackles, the offensive guards, and the centers separate from each other up on the website, www.theffforge.com. There is a link down in the description to that. Quick explanation, the color scheme here is, I think, pretty obvious based on just what you're seeing down here at the bottom of the screen. And it goes all the way down to horrible down there. This coloring that is done here is based on the population set of the 2022 and 2023 Combine data. It does not have Pro Day data included in it, however, this information does over here. And what this is I took the pounds per inch, the players' masses, and then I ran their athletics through that lens. There are reasons to like this, there are reasons to not. Ultimately, this is what helped to determine my prospect scores here. So this is a size-adjusted or mass-adjusted prospect score for the players, for better and for worse. I think it yields a lot of interesting results, but take it with a grain of salt at the same time, too. It's definitely not some sort of complete, all-knowing prospect score. I will have some notable names at the end, and I also have some interviews that I caught from these players at the Combine. Not really interviews, but their media sessions that I took notes on. That will be at the end if the players were not already in this list. And lastly, as a reminder, this list is just based upon the physical and the athletic traits, and that leaves a lot of blind spots. I did go and I looked at scouting reports after I've done my own analysis based off of this information and backed up what I determined about these players, found out more about them, or maybe found out that what I'm seeing here on paper doesn't quite translate on the field. I think that's it. Let's just get right on to this, starting off with my first offensive tackle prospect being Dewand Jones, who is all the way down here. Dewand is an absolute monster. He is massive, and it's really not a surprise that he isn't, faster than this. But when you look at his speed for his size, he is actually still quite athletic. He can move all that weight pretty well. Once again, for his size. If you need help in the running game, this is going to be your prospect. And to me, what I think of when I'm looking at Dewand Jones and this massive size of his is I think about that scene in The Blind Side when we see Michael block that kid all the way through the back of the end zone. And massive size like this does come with its own drawbacks, but based on some scouting reports that I looked at, his attitude does match his size, and to me, that's a very exciting trait about a big man like this. And it helps to lead me to give him a first-round draft grade. I think he's an absolute can't-miss prospect in the first round, just based on his sheer size and then what he's put on tape already in college, some of his strengths and weaknesses combined based on the scouting reports. I feel pretty comfortable putting a first-round draft grade on him myself. He is probably going to be a right tackle because blocking against pure speed is just not going to be, it's going to be a weakness for him. Additionally, because of his size, because of his height more so, you probably want to keep him out of the interior of the defensive line just to make things easier on the quarterback when looking down the center of the field. That is Dewand Jones. Let's move on to the next prospect here at the offensive tackle, and that is going to be Peter Skoronski, who is right near the top at least. Right here is Peter, and Peter is on the shorter side for an offensive tackle, but that's not a huge issue. The shorter arms are probably more of a concern than his height as far as being a tackle prospect. So, there are some issues for Peter. Nicely athletically, he absolutely killed it in both the vert and the broad jump, as well as doing really well on the bench. And those are all very important factors for an offensive lineman. I was able to catch Peter Skoronski's media session, and so the notes that I took from it are here. I wrote that he was open and honest. He does a good job of explaining/answering questions in details, understanding why he is being asked the questions. I really thought that showed a lot of thinking between the ears going on for him. He understood the reasoning behind why questions were being asked, and he did a good job then of answering with kind of that in mind. And so, as I was saying, what's going on between the ears, that's very important for offensive linemen. Outside of the quarterback position, it might be the most important factor for offensive linemen compared to all other positions. And I felt that Peter showed that there was plenty going on for him between the ears. At this point in time, I'm not familiar enough with Peter to give him a draft grade without it just being loaded with personal biases or actually other people's personal biases. So I'm not going to outright give him a draft grade right here, but the media sessions gives me trust in the fact that he is going to be a good pick in like the top 15 or so prospects of the NFL draft in 2023. That's where a lot of the people that I watch on YouTube have been putting him somewhere roughly in there, one of the first, if not the first offensive lineman off of the board. I'm not in disagreement with that at this point in time. The only concern I would have with that is the drawback of his size. He is not the perfect prospect as a tackle. He almost looks more like a guard physically here. And to me, that would push his draft stock just back a little ways. Which will bring us to the next prospect, talking about Blake Freeland, right up at the top of this prospect score. And here we have another massive dude. Blake is 6'8", and we know the limitations that can come with. Getting their own butts deep down into the ground in order to help with leverage can be a bit of an issue. Same with getting their feet picked up and moving to get in place for pass blocking. That can be an issue. However, when we're comparing Blake to Dewand Jones, Blake is 72 pounds lighter than Dewand Jones, which you could imagine that might definitely help with being able to pick up the feet and get in space, get in a spot much quicker. And you combine that with some of these athletics, and you're definitely seeing that. Look at that split, a nice quick first step. You gotta love that. First couple of steps, you get the idea. Then this 3-cone, similar idea, a little agility, quickness. And so this vert, this broad, that leads me to believe that he may be absolutely fine in the running game, which once again would be a concern for some of these bigger guys. From his scouting report, there are things that he still needs to be working on, and he could be putting on a few pounds onto that frame yet would probably be helpful for him at the next level. So there's some stuff that he needs to work on. That said, once the third round of the draft comes around, I think that GMs are really going to have to start to be thinking about getting this guy off of the draft board now. I think that he is probably someone who could contribute at the right tackle position right out of the gate, and then you could develop him into a left tackle year 2, year 3. And I believe that he could absolutely thrive at that left tackle spot once he's there and ready to go. Worst case scenario, I think you're probably still be getting a great swing tackle, which means basically your primary backup at both right and left tackle. They can play them both. So Blake Freeland, great prospect in my opinion. The sky's the limit for him at the next level. Then we're going to move up to Braeden Daniels, offensive tackle still, and he is right down here. And as you can see, Braeden is all in all undersized in basically every way physically, but athletically he is in the plus in basically every way. And that is what caught my eye with Braeden. At the least, he has the makings of an excellent backup. Maybe a swing tackle, maybe. And so that was kind of my notes on it. And then I looked at his scouting report, and just on cue, after kind of talking about him hopefully being able to be versatile at the next level and bring some of that solid backupness to a team, to a squad, just on cue, I looked, and sure enough, in the scouting report, right up top, it talks about his versatility. He played both the left tackle and the right tackle and the left guard in college, and this gives him some immediate value coming into the NFL. Initially, you might project him better as a guard in the NFL. However, I wonder if he has the size to compete on the inside on day one at the next level. I would say be surprised, but do not be shocked if he goes in the third round, probably later third round. The immediate versatility and the experience gives me faith that he'll be a contributor at the next level year one in case of injury, in a pinch. And the athletics give me hope that he could develop into a starter in year 2, 3. So Braeden Daniels, look for him to be maybe going higher than some people expect. And the first guard on my list is going to be Andrew Vorhees right here. And with a last name like Vorhees, you absolutely know that this man is a killer. Much like Jason, he is also tall, and he is also extremely strong. He should be a mauler in the run game, and one could assume that he has the strength to counter the best of bull rushes in the passing game. I was lucky enough to catch his media session at the Combine, and my notes were maybe he was a bit of a goon, was my initial impression. He still has some body fat under his chin, but otherwise he looks pretty fit, and I think here's where this baby fat, not body fat, still has some baby fat under his chin. And so as the interview media session went along, it turns out that he likes to eat a lot. So much, in fact, that it turns out that his best friend is actually a head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's false. But he actually has a food blog, I guess, of sorts. He has a public food list of places to eat, I think maybe all across different cities across the U.S. type of thing. I assume that he rates them on that list. And so he loosened up as the interview went along. He was a fun interview. I liked him up at the podium, and he seemed like a very typical offensive lineman at the end of the day there, that's for sure. So I think he'll fit in any locker room, and I would be happy if my team were to draft him probably in the second round. Wouldn't upset me at all. He may end up being a little bit taller than some teams would prefer in the interior line spot. That could hurt his draft stock for some teams. And not helping, I guess, with that is also the fact that he does have shorter arms, so that doesn't really help him to project better out to be a tackle prospect. And finally, for him, just where I see him in the NFL, he just might be one of those guys who is so darn good at the guard spot that it just, even if they're good at left tackle, right tackle, even if they're better than who you have in at left tackle, right tackle, it doesn't make sense to lose what he's giving you in that guard spot in order to fill one of those tackle spots. So I really do see him, it seems to me to be a very, very much a guard prospect. Now let's move on to another guard prospect here in Jon Gaines II. Right here, I think you can immediately see why he stands out to me. Jon is 6'4", and he is an absolute fit for a Shanahan-style offense. More specifically, he would be a really good fit for a zone scheme offense, zone blocking offense. I have to think that there will be a team that will be reaching for him just purely because of these athletic factors. And, I say reaching just based on maybe where public opinion thinks he'll be taken. I think that he is a third-round prospect, no doubt. His athletics are just simply off of the charts, and although he may be a bit of a project, I think that you could rely on him in a pinch early on in his career, year one here, and let him, get better for year two, essentially. Unfortunately, something working against him is his age. It may knock him down in some draft boards into more like being a fourth or fifth round guy. But someone should take a shot on him in day two because, like I said, at the very least, I think you're getting a guy who can still help in a pinch in year one. So that helps with those age issues. And so here we are with these centers, and I actually do have two names here, but I grouped them up in one little blurb. So the two names are going to be Juice Scruggs right at the top up here, and Ricky Stromberg. To me, it sounds like a NASCAR driver or something. More great names that we have in the offensive linemen this year that are coming out, several of them. And I couldn't choose between these two here, so that's why I went with both of them. It's not really a very strong center class, in my opinion. Joe Tippmann kind of stands out, but then I don't get his athletics. Nobody's really super standing out of this bunch. And really what led me to picking these two. They both do have longer arms, especially for this draft class, maybe not extremely long arms. And you know me, anybody who's in the trenches, I really like them having those longer arms. I think that's a nice advantage for them. I wish Ricky would have done more testing than he did, but I do appreciate how well he did in both the vert and the broad jumps there. And then we have Juice, who brought the juice on both the bench, and he had a pretty nasty 10 split as well. Unfortunately, his shuttle and the 3-cone were both pretty gross. And when I say nasty, that was a good thing. That's a nasty good thing. Gross, however, was not a good thing. I don't think either of these two prospects goes prior to the 6th round of the draft. However, obviously, I will be rooting for them, I guess. So those are my two prospects. A little side note here that I wrote. I think that Juice Scruggs did the opposite of impress me in the on-field drills. And the reason I say that I think that is because his name did stand out, Juice Scruggs. So I paid a little bit of attention to him, and I was rooting for him. And I just remember being a little bit disappointed that I couldn't make him my guy. In the end, the centers aren't incredibly strong, and he did kind of become a my guy here. But, I'm not like staking my legacy on these names and their success at the next level. Then we come to some notable names, and I meant to do this as I went through the positions. So for the center, I do have one notable name right down here. Joe Tippmann obviously stands out. He is a massive offensive center prospect on the line. Then we're going to go backwards here, moving off to the guards. And first up, I have Dewand Jones, who's right there, third down on the list. And as far as Dewand goes, he excels in the bench and the broad jump, two of the absolute best predictors for success at the guard position. Then we have Anthony Bradford as well, who is the top guy on the list, and he did really well with my prospect score, obviously here, based on his mass, and he is a big dude who has solid athleticism for his size. And that's definitely nothing on the offensive line. He is a very prototypical starting guard in like every aspect. And so here are those mass numbers. Now that's going to bring us to the tackles. And here we are. I said that a little bit early to the tackles. Starting off with Connor Galvin. Right down here, bottom of the list, graded out the worst. Also a guy who's very strong for his mass. So here, we'll do it like this. There you go. That bench stands out for his mass. So, I just, that stands out, and that is interesting. He obviously not somebody who you're expecting to be helping in year one. Then we have Tyler Steen at offensive tackle right up top here. Tyler is very strong, and he had a great shuttle. Like that combination of strength and quick feet. I think that's incredibly important at tackle, especially, so love that. Then we have Wanya Morris and Paris Johnson. Wanya Morris right here, Paris Johnson right down here. Both of them with longer arms, so 2 thumbs up to them. You know me, like my long arms, and they're good prospects. Is that it? No, we have Broderick Jones. He's all around solid. Where are you, Broderick? Right there, 4th down on the list, as you can see. All around really, really solid prospect. And then John Ojokwu and Cody Mock, who actually I wanted to make sure to get Cody Mock on this list. Both of them have very quick feet, so they're going to be right here, I bet. Yes, John Ojokwu in the shuttle did really, really well, and then Cody Mock in the 3-cone did really, really well, and both of them did well also in the opposite drills there. Love quick feet tackle spot. So all offensive linemen, really. So those are my prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft at the offensive lineman spot. I do have 3 guys that I caught the media interviews of that didn't make this list. And if you have any concerns or likes with the guys that I've already gone over, anybody that I didn't cover, anybody that you think I should look more into, please let me know. Appreciate it. In the middle of doing all my scouting, so I will include them in the scouting. So last up, offensive guard Cyrus Torrance, caught him at the media session. He looks the part. He was a quick speaker, and he answered and reacted really quickly to questions. He was very alert, and I think on the offensive line, that's an incredibly awesome asset to have, to be able to react quickly, not getting off guard caught off guard by stunts and defenses trying to pull some trickery on you. Huge. So love that for Cyrus Torrence. Then we have John Michael Schmitz, I believe center. I wrote guard on here, but I'm pretty sure these last two are both centers. So John Michael Schmitz, Schitz. Is that right? Schitz? Schmitz. There's an M in there. He has the face of a 14-year-old, but he was built really well, and he was a total meat and potatoes, typical offensive lineman kind of guy. Then we have Luke Whippier. It might be Whippier, Wypier, but I'm going to go with Luke Whippier until he's not in the NFL anymore. So Luke he was super comfortable and relaxed at the podium, and he looks like he can party and be a bit of a goofball. And I wrote all those notes within like the first 5-10 seconds of him standing up at the podium. I love to read books by the cover. Sure enough, as the media session went along, found out that he does have experience going up on stage and doing stand-up comedy. So I called it. Don't forget how good I am at reading books by the cover. Peace out. Thank you very much. We will finish this up with the running backs tomorrow. Bye-bye.